We hear it so much that it feels like a buzzword, but it is far from it. Climate change is a real and serious issue.
Wrong. Wrong.
That is
It's wrong. And he did the wrong thing. Wrong.
That is absolutely
Wrong.
proved over and over again.
Wrong.
He actually
Wrong. It's wrong.
They were not hired. And here's why he does it this way. Let me explain why he hires.
Jeb is so wrong.
He said no.
Wrong. Jeb is so wrong.
We hear it so much that it feels like a buzzword, but it is far from it. Climate change is a real and serious issue.
Wrong. Wrong.
That is
It's wrong. And he did the wrong thing. Wrong.
That is absolutely
Wrong.
proved over and over again.
Wrong.
He actually
Wrong. It's wrong.
They were not hired. And here's why he does it this way. Let me explain why he hires.
Jeb is so wrong.
He said no.
Wrong. Jeb is so wrong.
That is so wrong.
down the
Wrong.
national debt.
Wrong.
Advocate.
Wrong.
With that money, he lost one.
Very nice words, but happens to be wrong. Wrong. Wrong.
That-
Wrong. 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 Wrong.
We have one more question from Ken Bone about energy policy. Ken?
I heard global warming's real.
Wrong.
There are fundamentals of climate change that have been understood by scientists for decades. To start with, there are naturally occurring gases such as carbon dioxide and methane in the Earth's atmosphere. In themselves, they are not that bad, in fact. We need them in limited quantities to keep our atmosphere at just the right temperature for all life as we know it to exist. But if we produce an excess of these gases as we have, the temperature rises as it has. The sun radiates energy towards the Earth, which is absorbed by the surface and the atmosphere. Some of the radiation is reflected by the ozone layer. However, greenhouse gases absorb some of the energy and reflect it back towards the Earth, heating the surface. For millions of years, the CO2 content of the atmosphere moves within a natural band. But during the Industrial Revolutions, humans started burning fossil fuels to get an increasingly large amount of energy. In fact, now that we're around 7 billion of us, our reliance on carbon-based fuels is for 85% of our energy. We currently produce around 35 billion tons of carbon dioxide every year. About 55% of that is absorbed by the ocean, land, and vegetation. Of the rest, it remains the atmosphere. Most of the excess CO2 comes from burning fossil fuels, and more than half of the emissions come from power plants and factories, and about a third comes from our various forms of transportation. This recycled heat does more than just bump up your thermometer. Warm air has the capacity to hold more moisture, and water vapor itself is a greenhouse gas, so it's even more warm, which means the planet's entire hydrological and water cycle is affected. More evaporation leads to more precipitation, causing changes to Earth's ocean currents, impacting ecosystems massively. Climates begin to change as sea levels rise about 4 feet, causing cities like San Francisco and the entire state of Florida to be covered in water. As weather becomes more erratic, natural disasters become more frequent and devastating, causing massive amounts of damage to the world's economy and environment. What we can do is stop denying climate change and start making our changes in our lives to make society reduce global warming. First, we gotta start using energy responsibly. Switch off your light when you're not using it. Try to use natural lighting at all times. It's more efficient and looks nicer. Switch to fluorescent bulbs when you can. They use much less energy. Try to watch TV backwards. And when don't use a heater, just put on more clothes and use an electric fan as much as you can. Also, unplug everything while it's still on. Charge your phone without plugging it into a socket. That's the number one rule. take shorter showers, to save water. Now, one of the leading causes of global warming is red meat, and just changing your diet to more green-based will affect the world greatly. Each of Earth's 1.6 billion cows release about 100 kilograms of methane every year. That might not sound like much, but methane effects on the climate is 23 times more than carbon dioxide. Methane traps in heat of the sun and makes the whole planet warmer, so each of the cow emits about same as burning 100 liters of petrol every year. Cows are mostly responsible for 18% of total greenhouse gases worldwide. That's more than the entire transportation sector put together. Should we eliminate the bovine threat? Not so fast. Just eliminating meat from your diet will help. Converting to a more renewable energy will make a more long-term impact on global warming. Renewable energy comes from solar, wind, hydro, geothermal, and biomass. Over 80% of total energy consumed by humans derives from fossil fuels, with 10% of renewable energy. Although, for the everyday person, renewable energy isn't as directly easy to make an impact on, but going out and volunteering or making donations or investments for renewable energy sources will make a more lasting impact for our future.